It's Tuesday morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central here on News Central Television. And we are indeed grateful and, of course, thankful to be alive, regardless of the fact that Nigeria is undergoing one of the toughest motions, or I would say a situation ever in history. We did see riots take place in Niger State, of course, in Lagos here, where we're broadcasting from. Nigerians are equally crying of the very tough times to live with. Anyway, I would like to say, on that note, I'm Joe Hansen saying good morning and welcome.
And I am Osarogie and Joe. Yes, bits of a protest in Niger State, of course, yesterday. Hopefully it doesn't spread across the country, but of course, it's obvious that not very many Nigerians are interested in, tightening their belts, or listening to what the president is saying about, this period being a period of pregnancy. And, very soon the country will give birth. The country is in labor, as he describes it, and will give birth very soon and things will be better. Nobody, seems to be buying that currently, mostly also because of the body language of the presidency and people in government. So that might be what's playing out, and we would like to see how things turn out in the next couple of days, maybe weeks. But we've repeatedly spoken about how tough things are for Nigerians, regardless of what, class you are. Yeah. It is tough for every single person, and these are some of the signs, that we're having to deal with.
That's right. That's right. It's quite tough. And there we hear that there's a resurgence of a fuel scarcity in between. Yes. We saw some saying it's panic buying, others are saying no, it's actually going to happen. We do not really know the situation between IPMAN and, of course, the NNPCL and the federal government and the likes. But anyway, let's see if Debola is over there to join us. Debola, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing this Tuesday morning?
Well, we could be fine. Like I always tell people, if you give me $10 million, I'm okay.
Really?
I'm fine.
How about you, Osarogie? What would make you fine this Tuesday morning?
Wow. There's no need saying it because no one's going to do it for me. I don't want to live in the Lulu land, so I'm good. I am absolutely fine. Well, but of course, any of the protests that we're hearing about, is any of that shocking to you? And is there anybody who feels like this, has been a long time coming, maybe would continue to go into different parts of the country?
Honestly, Osarogie, there's a lot, left to be needed to be done in terms of what's going on in Nigeria. Like you rightly mentioned, protests going on in Minna, Niger State. Hopefully it doesn't spread across other parts of the country. There are fresh kidnap stories again happening in Kogi State. We also have a recent report of kidnapping in Katsina State. Like you mentioned, Joe, fuel scarcity is there. The Naira crashing further, the average Nigerian has a lot to contend with. I'm hoping all of this, crisis and all of these mishaps will be addressed pretty soon, and then Nigeria can be functional as a country that should be functional.
Also to mention, it's the 6th of February and the president is still not back. I remember the president's message that said he was leaving the country, said that he was going to be back sometime in the first week of February, which was pretty vague. It was any time that they decide that it's good enough in the first week that he'll be back. And so, and maybe just good thing to remind Nigerians that it's the 6th, now that it's going to be 7 days into the month of February, and the president is still not back in Nigeria. The president, or rather the country, seems to be running on autopilot at this point. Of course, the vice president is around, but we know how things are here in the country. Just a reminder to everyone that he's still not back. Anyway, let's share with our viewers this morning what our top stories are this Tuesday morning on Breakfast Central.
President's protest, high cost of living in Minna. That's in Niger State. Osarogie and myself, and of course, Debola just talked about this.
And also, NAFDAC bans the sale of sachet alcoholic beverages. Seems to be a health problem, that might be, of course, coming in.
High cost of living too. Lagos residents express concern, so it's starting to trickle down to different parts of the country.
And what are Nigerians saying? We'll be sharing one topical story, and of course, the other reaction from many Nigerians amongst others, along with the newspaper front pages. What are the major stories making headlines across the country this morning? But first of all, breakfast headlines with Debola Deduba.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines here on News Central TV. I am Adebola Adeduba. The news begins in Nigeria with security matters, where we understand the menace of kidnapping has once again reared its ugly head. This time in Kogi State, north-central Nigeria, where kidnappers have abducted passengers of 2 Abuja-bound buses in the Inele-Eteke-Ogugu New Road area of Kogi East District. The incident involved GIG and ABC buses heading to Abuja from the eastern part of the country. The Kogi State Police Command spokesperson, William Aya, who confirmed the developments in a statement on Monday, said the divisional police officer of the area, local vigilantes and hunters have been in the bush in an effort to rescue the victims. Still on security matters in northwest Nigeria, officials say at least 35 women are missing after kidnappers seized guests returning from a wedding in Katsina State. Police spokesman Abubakar Aliyu said suspected armed bandits ambushed and kidnapped about 35 women returning from the wedding in Sabuwa area. However, the State Internal Security Commissioner Nasiru Muazu gave a higher figure, saying more than 50 people were seized on the way back to Damari village after escorting the bride to the groom's home. Let's also tell you that residents of Minna, the Niger State capital in Nigeria's north-central, are protesting the high cost of living in the country, blocking major roads within the metropolis. The protesters said a rise in cost of food items and poor government efforts to arrest the situation forced them to block major roads so the government can hear their cry. We'll stay in West Africa, where lawmakers in Senegal on Monday debated an unprecedented move to delay this month's presidential election, which sparked clashes outside parliament and has prompted international concern. Security forces used tear gas to disperse small groups of opposition protesters outside the National Assembly. Let's also tell you that several young people in Dakar have been sharing their frustration after access to mobile internet was cut off on Monday in Senegal's capital. The removal of access to mobile data came amid street protests and a political crisis in the West African country after President Macky Sall announced the postponement of this month's presidential election. Still in the region, Burkina Faso has introduced the World Health Organization's first recommended malaria vaccine, RTSS, into its regular vaccination routine. The first phase of this vaccine rollout is targeting almost 250,000 infants aged 5 months to 1 year in 27 health districts that are worst affected by malaria. In South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa has delivered a keynote address on the first day of the 4-day annual Investing in African Mining Indaba conference in Cape Town. The conference, celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, aims to facilitate dialogue and provide a platform for mining industry investors and mine owners. And that's a wrap on Breakfast Headlines. It's back to Osarogie and Joe.
Thank you so much, Adebola. Fantastic coverage of the stories here on News Central. Most importantly, take a look at what's happening here in Nigeria and also outside of Nigeria and South Africa and the likes. But then again, Adebola, I don't know if I'm to put you on the spot this morning, but I think I will, and I should, I must. I do not know what the schedule looks like, so I'm not certain if you will be here with us in the morning by this time. But Nigeria plays, of course, takes on South Africa, and it's a big banter, and everybody's talking about it. First off, what are you expecting? The Super Eagles to win? Of course, tomorrow likely looking to swing their way. And then what do you make of the Grammys as well?
Well, if you ask me, I'm expecting Nigeria to win, of course. I'm, patriotic, so therefore I support Nigeria. For the Grammys, well, it's a big blow. I was expecting Davido. It's been a long time coming for him. I watched a clip of him saying that, you know what, if he gets 20 Grammy, he's expecting it. But unfortunately, it went to Tyler. Well, better luck next time. There's always gain and trying again. So I wish him better luck next time. But I was really hoping, we bring home the Grammys. I mean, Davido brings home the Grammys. But hey, better luck next time. Who knows?
Okay. All right. Noted. So I'll count you amongst those who we're hoping and wishing him well next time. Hopefully he joins next time because he unfollowed the Grammys and so on. Hopefully he joins. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central on News Central. Once again, don't forget that you can be part of the program by calling in. And that's exactly what we have decided to do for you, our esteemed viewers. Now you can call in and, of course, express your thoughts concerning the recent situation and the topic that we would bring to you, especially this morning. In the meantime, let's also let you know that there is a lot happening, and we're going to start from Lagos, where reports are indeed rife, especially from a cross-section of Nigerians having expressed concerns as food prices continue to rise sharply. Consumers in Lagos say if the rising cost of food persists while wages remain stagnant, managing finances will become increasingly challenging, especially for households. They called for immediate intervention to address both rising prices and stagnation incomes if inflation is to be brought under control. You know what? Our man Niyo Money has more in this report.
Here is a view of what a food item list for an average Nigerian home looks like, with items such as rice, beans, curry, vegetable oil costing nearly a fortune.
For me to stock my home for a month, it will take like 250K. Yes, for you to buy everything, the curry, the beans, the rice, everything.
Rice is even worse, because at least rice was, before you can cook concoction with anything, your family will eat. But now rice, the kind of rice is 1.5 for the clean one, while the Nigerian rice is 1,001, with one full of stone. So it's only God that will help us.
For restaurant owners like Israel, who makes soup and stew which is accompanied by a Nigerian swallow or rice, amongst others, the choice to cook these revolves around luxury or necessity.
Everything now for Nigeria is so expensive, and like in my own house, if I want to eat food, because I'm not yet married, so I will know the kind of food that I will buy, so that, because everybody now is managed, everybody is managed.
The minimum wage in Nigeria has been steady at 30,000 naira since 18 April 2019, although there has been calls for an increase to 200,000 naira and even 450,000 naira. The dream seems far-fetched.
The margin we had before was from 18,000 to 30, which was over 100%. And the question is, even 100% of 30,000 leaves us at 60. Can that take Nigerian workers home?
As the rising food costs push Nigeria's inflation rate to 28.9%, for most Nigerians, some of those food items have become essential commodities.
Before, I used to buy a half bag of rice, sometimes quarter, but now I don't even bother to buy it again. We just, we eat everything we see, not what we like before, just anything we see, we eat.
Just told my children, don't waste food though. Before, they are full flags to school, I can full it, but now I have to ration it so that sometimes they come back with food, but now they will finish. Mommy, that food is not okay, but manage it.
Staple food items that many Nigerians rely on for sustenance have seen substantial price rises. The average price of a carton of noodles have increased to 5,900 naira, while a bag of rice now costs 70,000 naira on average. Plantains, a commonly consumed vegetable, are selling for 500 to 1,000 naira per 5 strands. The cost of a kilogram of Titus fish and chicken has risen to 3,000 naira and 3,500 naira respectively, with others like bread, yam and egg costing nearly an arm or leg. These rising prices outpace Nigeria's minimum wage, which has become insufficient to cover the basic needs of average person, giving additional living expenses such as transportation, healthcare and housing. Is it likely to get better, or should Nigerians brace up for the days ahead? While many hope that Nigerian government does something quickly about the situation, a general term, thank you, used for this kind of period is called the survival mode in Nigeria. In Lagos for News Central, Ni or money.
Wow. There's no way Ni is going to tell me to not eat that rice.
Well, I mean, it's a very interesting report, and I'm happy that he was able to, show that aspect of it, how, people are having to make adjustments. You saw the woman talk about how she tells her kids to no longer waste food, and she also spoke about how much it would cost right now to buy provisions and foodstuff for a house, 250,000 naira. That is money that I would bet you 89% of Nigerians cannot afford to put into foodstuff every month. You know, it would take I mean, and now you imagine the number of families, the parents have to provide for 3, 4, 5 kids that are still paying school fees. They have to transport themselves, they have to buy petrol. Yeah. It's completely insane. And obviously, wages haven't improved in the last couple of years. So it's really, really painful, you know, and I know that this is the reality for many, many, many Nigerians. But let's take the conversation somewhere else now, and of course see what the realities are in the northern part of Nigeria. Still talking about the high living cost. Let's also tell you that residents of Chanchaga local government area in Minna, the Niger State capital, yesterday protested the high cost of living in the country, blocking major roads within the metropolis. The protesters said the rising cost of food items and poor government effort to arrest the situation forced them to block major roads so the government will hear their cries. The Deputy Governor of Niger State, Yakubu Garba, while addressing the protesters, said the government is aware of the pain and hardship families are faced with at this time.
Meanwhile, the Executive Chairman, Chanchaga local government area, Aminu Ladan, has condemned in very strong terms the protest in the area. Now, the chairman finds it regrettable that the conveners of the protest under some groups of people allowed the protest to be hijacked by thugs who took advantage of the procession led by them to destroy government properties and vehicles of security agencies and visitors, running into millions of naira. Well, this morning, we are joined by Hashimu Maika. He is a resident of Minna, Niger State. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. I mean, do you want to tell us very quickly what happened, what took place yesterday? And we know what necessitated the move for protesters to come out, the hardship and the likes. But would you like to paint a picture clearly for us?
Good morning once again. I wouldn't want to say much, but actually what happened yesterday in Minna, it was started as a peaceful protest. Women and youth around Akongu roundabout started a peaceful protest, which later turned violent because they actually came out to call on the government to come to their aid because of the high cost of living or the hike in prices of foodstuff in Nigeria. It has gotten to an unbearable state. They can no longer bear the high cost of food items in the market. And secondly, they protested against people coming or buying foodstuff in large number, taking them for their own personal reasons, or creating artificial scarcity, thereby causing high in the prices of foodstuff. The women purposely came out to call on the government to come to their rescue because a lot of promises have been made, and the state governor, through His Excellency, the deputy governor, came to address the protesters. And I don't want to speak on that because you've all seen what he said, but what actually happened, it later turned to from the normal protest, it was learned some hoodlums. Let me use this word, will I say the jobless youth that are trying to take advantage of the situation came out to join the women. And in fact, some of the, what would I call it, the deputy governor's convoy were being stoned. I wasn't at the particular scene, but I personally later in the day went to that place and asked some few individuals about the happenings that occurred earlier in the day. And I was told that the convoy, some of the convoy, not the deputy governor per se, but some of the convoy of the deputy governor were being stoned. And the security operatives were calm and they took control of the situation without being so harsh to the citizens. But a lot of arrests were being made, and the situation was, and normalcy was now returned to that same area. Because later, after the protest after the tension must have been doused, there was normal movement of vehicles and people around that axis.
Yeah,
I think that is much.
Yeah, I want to, two things. The first one is, they are being termed hoodlums. Are they hoodlums, or are they really just people who are angry with the situation in Niger State and across Nigeria? Is any disgruntled citizen who decides to, of course, actually, unlawfully get violent now going to be termed a hoodlum?
What I learned from the situation, some people wanted to take advantage of the innocent women, our mothers, and other youth doing the protest. So they want to take advantage of that to come and cause chaos and to come and cause unwanted problem to the society. And security operatives deployed must have or have to do something about it, because what I learned, the women, they have blocked major roads around that axis. Yes, actually, the road linking to Bida local government, the road linking to other parts of Minna, because that Bakungurandaba is a very busy and a business area here in Minna. So if you block that place, the majority of the people passing that side had to take other routes to get to their destination, to their offices, to the schools, and other businesses. So those people tried to take advantage of what is going on, the protest, so that they can cause other problems to the society. And security will not take that.
Yeah.
So the security tried to arrest the situation, arrest
people
that are suspected of.
We might come back to that later. But I want to also know, what's the reality for the people who are currently in Minna? What is the reality with regards to their living standards that has maybe necessitated the peaceful protest? How much hunger are we talking about here?
The truth is that not only people living in Nigeria, we are all aware of the current hardship, the economic realities on ground. You are a family man, I believe. The other guy with you is also a family man. We all face similar things. Things you used to buy at a very low rate. When you get to the market, it has become times 2 or 3 of that same amount. So people are really, really suffering. There is hardship in the town, and these innocent women and youth came out to protest, to call to the government to come to their aid, because it is no longer bearable to the common man in Nigeria. The masses are really suffering. That is just the aim of the protest, and it was peaceful. Not later, other people tend to take advantage of what was going on and want to cause a lot of problem. And that was what necessitated the security to douse the tension by, let me say, clearing the people around that side. That was what really happened.
Okay, let me ask, Gaskia, like they say. How does the average resident in Minna feed currently today? I know maybe he or she may have been accustomed to 101, 111, and so on. What is the true picture now? And is there enough food, but yet it is expensive? That's why they are protesting. Or there is no food and it's not available. Can you break that down for us? Let's start off first with the average resident.
Thank you for this question. I wouldn't want to speak on other people's behalf. I'm not a journalist. I can only speak for myself. But actually,
you have neighbors. You have neighbors, you have friends. You should know at least how everybody's coping. You have families as well.
Of course I do. But just like I said, the foodstuffs are available, just that the hike in the prices is causing difficulty to people on how to purchase them. The purchasing power of the masses or the people is very low. The prices are going up by day, not by weekly or monthly now. Every day, you buy a Congo of rice today at 2,000 probably. You go back the next day, 2-3 days, it has gone to another level again. So this has been the challenges with the people here, not only in Minna, but I believe majority in the country. There is available of food in the market, yes, I can attest to that. But the purchasing power of the masses is the major problem. There is hardship in the town. People are really suffering in purchasing all these items. That is why the women came out to call on the government. The government are really trying all they have tried, but they want the government to do more in curtailing this problem of high prices of food items in the market so that the common man can breathe.
Yeah, you also mentioned that there's people who are buying foodstuff in bulk and then hoarding it. Tell us a little bit more about that, and in what ways do these protesters expect the government to reduce the price of foodstuff? Doesn't happen like that. But talk about the hoarders.
Thank you for that question. That might be attributed to attitude of some of our, business people that tend to that tend to get foodstuff from all sources they could, and to put them on a to store them, to keep them for future sale. I don't know what to say, and that might also cause hardship. And the people living in that area, usually these large vehicles pass through that same destination. Maybe that was what triggered the youth around that side by blocking the road. These people are really suffering. They could not afford to eat twice or 3 times in a day. And by day, they saw these vehicles passing through that same destination. Maybe that might be their own reason, or what triggered them to block those major roads and calling on the government to do something about the price. That's all I can say about that.
Wow. Anyway, a final question from my end. The Deputy Governor did indeed address the people, talking about His Excellency Yakubu Garba. He also spoke to them and told them to indeed take it easy, that he does and he sees what they're going through. That speech and that statement to the people, what did it do for them? Did it eventually quell the movement? And what did the people say after they heard the Deputy Governor? Was there an ultimatum? Did they tell him, okay, we're going to wait for XYZ amount of time and then we'll come back all out?
Just like I said, of course, there will be a lot of opinion after His Excellency's speech. Some people were okay with what he said, while some were not. Some were like, all this type of promises have been made, and only little effort has been made to take care of the situation. And while a lot of other segment of the people were like, we were okay for this promises or the speech delivered by His Excellency, and we do hope something tangible will be done soonest, because people are really suffering. There was a lot of opinion, but majority were like, we've been having this same, we've had a lot of things like this in the past, but only little effort was done. So we do hope something good will come out of this after this speech, not just the speech for now, but because people are really in hardship and people are really finding difficult to feed. Thank you.
The new governor, Mohammed Umar Bago, of course, has been there for just a few months. Would you say that he's been able to handle the current realities in Niger State, or is he still finding his footing? And what would you say to him, if he was seeking your advice this morning?
His Excellency my Governor Umaru Bago has, the few months he spent in office, he has really done well. Let me use that word. He has extremely done well. If I won't be biased, I will say he is the best governor in Nigeria. I don't know, because I don't know, maybe I've been here, but
in what ways has he done well?
He has taken he's on a very good path. I want him to retain that tempo and to do more for Nigerians, because there is a lot of expectation from Nigerians to him. He's doing good at the moment. So I want to advise him to continue in that tempo.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, in what ways would you say he's doing well? What's the tempo you're speaking of? What things has he done that makes you say that he's doing very well? Because the protest is starting in his state. So I'm not sure how he's doing well, and yet it's in his state that the protests are starting.
The current economic hardship is not only limited to Niger State, I believe. The whole country are facing similar scenario. Why I said the governor is doing well at the moment. Few months after assuming office, this issue of palliative that came on board, I know a lot of things were being done, though I want to question the, let me say, the criteria in which some of these things are being distributed to the masses. I want the governor to look into that properly. Yes, as a governor, you've assigned a lot of people to do the work, but there need to be each assignment assigned to every government official, because we are all Nigerians. We know some people might tend to use their own ways by.
Ashimo, I understand that you're not a spokesperson of the government, but we're just trying to get a picture of who might be failing the people this time. Is it the presidency? Is it a general economic hardship across the whole world, across the continent? Or is it, the governor of the state, who is, of course, he's been there for a few months now, since 29th of May when he was sworn in. And I'm trying to get from your analysis, what would you say are the things that he has done that you could say, okay, we're giving him kudos. He has done very well and we want him to do more. And yes, I agree that, the hardship is across the country, but it's starting in his state. The protest started in his state. So that should tell for something. So what I'm asking is, what has Mohamed Umar Bago done since assuming office that you can say, okay, he's been a good governor? You described him as the best governor in Nigeria. So in what way?
I get the question clearly now. One area I will always laud or commend my governor is this area of infrastructure development. For people that have been to Niger for some few years back, they always tell you what we expect to see in Niger is not what we've seen. People that were here before, in terms of infrastructural development, previous administration have done their best, but the sitting governor has let me say, stepped up a bit in doing that. The infrastructure coming to the state. In fact, for someone that has done a year or two out of Minna, once you came in, you will notice that something. I'm not speaking, just like you said, I'm not a spokesperson of the governor, but as a citizen, at least I've seen some of the activity that is going on, particularly in the infrastructural development, the road construction, and other projects that are going on in the state for now. That's why I advise if the governor can continue in that tempo, at least
all right.
Thing about him.
All right, Mr. Shimomika, thank you so much for joining us. A resident there in Niger State. And most importantly, you've been able to give us an account of what did happen yesterday. We appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
I really appreciate you people. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much
for
having me.
Okay, all right. So that's it. That's a resident who was right at the heart of the situation taking place. But of course, we do have more reports concerning that protest. We'll bring that to you in the course of Breakfast Central. But right now, let's go for a break. And when we come back, we'll find out what you are saying about the current situation of things in Nigeria and the latest stories right here on Breakfast Central. Stay with us. And the front pages of the papers is up next. Time for us to take a look at what's happening. So many stories I can say. Well, this morning we're joined by publisher of the niche newspaper, Ikechukwu Amechi. Thank you so much for being here, sir. It's good to see you. I'm happy you have feel and you're able to move around. Anyway, let's start off with Daily Trust. But before we do, let's remind our viewers that you can call into this segment and you can also share your views. Wherever you are across Nigeria, just dial the phone numbers which would bring it up on the screen in a short while. But first, let's go to our very first story. Protest rocks Niger over cost of living. Jigawa Taraba residents want food prices controlled. Students demand action, say inflation threat to education. Kano governor to meet president over hardship. Seek help to address situation. Labour Party tells Tinubu hard times over soon. First Lady says because she met with the first ladies of all governors. So what do we call them? First ladies?
First wives.
First wives. Kind of like reminds you of wags. Wives of, so, I don't know. What's your take, sir? Especially looking at the fact that the protest is starting to erupt. Let me use that word. It's starting to come up all of a sudden.
Well, I would rather say that it is even coming late in the day because, honestly, I don't know how Nigerians are surviving, because it is almost impossible for anybody to survive under this very, very harsh economic climate. Look, now come to think about it. Minimum wage is still 30,000. A bag of rice
70
is 70,000.
That's 2 months minimum.
People can't send their children to school again because every other person is hiking price, whether it is school fees, whether it is, just name it, everything. Yet the disposable income in the hands of Nigerians cannot buy anything, cannot buy anything. A loaf of bread is about 1,500 naira. So the protest is starting late. Like I've always argued here every Tuesday, my worry is not even where we are right now. My worry is that I don't see anything being done out there. The First Lady, Remi Tinubu, was saying yesterday that the hard times will soon be over. And the question I ask is how? Do you wake up in the morning and just say, wish hard times away? That is not the way things are done in other climes. There must be deliberate effort. Hope, yes. They say if you can't afford to hope again, perhaps you are dead as a human being. Hope is the only thing that oils our dead. But hope must be predicated on something. It doesn't grow in a vacuum. You don't wake up in the morning and say you hope that all will be well. Government must be seen to be doing things. Look, we ought to be in an emergency. Our president is there on a private visit for almost 2 weeks now in France, and nobody cares. So the Nigerians, part of the problem we have in this country is that people are so docile and they take everything. In other countries, people will not even take a fraction of the nonsense we've taken in this country, and there will be consequences. But we take everything that is thrown at us in our stride. If the fuel price is increased to 1,000 today, people will still go driving and buy, and those who can't buy will park their cars and find a means of
commuting, moving around.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense. And when you do that, and the most worrying part of what we are going through is that those who are telling you to tighten your belt are losing theirs every day. We see people living it up in government houses, buying the latest models of cars that they don't even produce. Cars that even in countries where these cars are produced, government officials don't use those kind of cars. So, and you ask yourself, what is all this? The president is going to mosque, from his house in Lagos to the mosque, and he has convoys that run into hundreds of vehicles. Why people are lining up the streets, shouting, we are hungry.
They be in power.
Does it make sense to anybody? So, when this story broke yesterday, I was not surprised. People are literally in hell in Nigeria, and I don't know how long it will take for something to give.
And it's interesting because these are parts of the country that have some of the highest levels of poverty. So you can imagine what level they're currently dealing with, after the current economic realities. And I quickly also share your thoughts on the Kano governor going to meet the president over hardship. What exactly, does he want to tell Mr. President? Is he going to meet him in France? Or is he going to wait for him to be back before he tells him? And then, as a governor, isn't there things that he should know as a governor to ease, the issues or the sufferings of his people?
Again, that's the irony of what we're going through in this country. I don't know how much money FAC shared yesterday amongst the federal, state, and local governments.
3 trillion naira or something like
But
that.
the truth of the matter is that states, everybody, federal, states, local governments are getting much more money now. Of course, you can also argue that because of the depreciation of the naira and the rate of inflation, even what they get may not even be up to what they used to get when they were getting less in terms of the volume, the quantum of naira that they get now. But let us even take it that they are getting more money, which of course was why they increased the fuel price, so that they will get more money. What are the states doing? Yes, we blame the federal government because ideally this ought to come from the center, because the president is the leader of the country. But what are the subnationals, what are the governors doing in their own states? Is there nothing they can do to uplift the well-being of their people? So why is the Kano government going to, you know, this is ridiculous. And we've reduced this thing into the president being a thing god. If cases are in court, people must go to the president to beg. And after judgment is given, people must thank the president for not interfering. If there is a problem anywhere, people go to the president to plead that he should intervene. Does it make sense? Is that we claim we are practicing presidential system of government, which we copied from America. Is that the way things are done there? The governor of California can't do anything again unless he gets permission from the president of the United States. Our governors can't do anything. Governors are literally living in Abuja. Doing what?
I think, I mean, look at the standoff between the Texas, state of Texas and the United States government, Joe Biden and Texas State Governor. I mean, that basically would tell you the power that every state should have to handle their affairs, by themselves. But it's completely embarrassing what we are seeing here. And like you've said, they keep running to Abuja. There will be disaster in the state. The governor will take pictures of disaster and go to the president in Abuja to go and present pictures to him and shake hands and come back. People will be released from kidnappers then after weeks and the ransom has been paid. The governor will be writing public statements saying, thank Mr. President for his support. There are some things that you just don't believe are real. It's like you're living in the Matrix. But let's see what we can find on the Punch. Punch newspapers this morning. Remember the phone lines, you could always join the conversation. If you have views on any of the things that we're speaking about this morning, kindly call the number on your screen and have your thoughts. Naira weakens at parallel market, rises at official window. Or the big one you can see splashing on your screen that says Nigerians seek relief as states get 3.3 trillion Naira allocations. Protesters lament rising inflation. Governors rally federal government to avert food crisis. States and federal local government received 3.3 trillion Naira July to December. Quality of life degenerating, residents say. And that's the interesting part, that the 3.3 trillion Naira, the people, the electorate, the Nigerian citizens would almost see no effect of this thing in their lives.
It has no impact whatsoever. No impact whatsoever. The poverty level, many Nigerians are still being thrown into the poverty loop. Every day. People who are multidimensionally poor are increasing by the day, despite all the money that the states are getting, the federal government is getting, and the local governments are getting. It doesn't make sense. Nigerians must begin to say enough is enough, peacefully, if that is what it will take. But there must be, because the more you behave as if nothing is wrong, the more these guys carry on as if. And that is why, elections, I think it was Barack Obama, after the election of Joe Biden, who said, elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. Except that in Nigeria, why I don't blame the electorate so much is that we have seen that the outcomes of elections are not necessarily what the people voted for or what the people wished would have happened. And before you ask me how, I will tell you a very good example. Plateau State.
Yeah.
The people voted for who they voted for. And everybody knows that they voted for PDP. They didn't vote for APC. Between INEC and the judiciary, now APC has taken over. 16 members of the State House of Assembly were awarded seats that they didn't win. 2 senators, 5 members of the House of Representatives sacked. I spoke with a federal lawmaker yesterday who lamented what most of them went through in the course to retain their seats, which they won at the ballot. The amount of money they spent trying to defend their mandate in the cause. And if you don't have that kind of money, you are thrown out and nothing is done. So we are in a very, very big mess in this country. I've asked these questions many times. Is this democracy? I doubt. It is not. We deceive ourselves when we think, okay, look at even the by-elections that took place the other day. It is still the same story. In Enugu State, Resident Electoral Commissioner withdrew the result sheets and came up with photocopies. And when the people said no, he was trying to persuade them that he lost the result sheets and therefore that they should make do with photocopies. How? How did you lose it? When journalists asked him what happened, he simply walked out on them. The level of impunity we have in this country is a threat to the so-called democracy that we think we are practicing. And all these things are going on because Nigerians are taking all manner of rubbish from those who claim to be their leaders, who are, if you ask me, are ruiners of the country, or the beautiful country that we all love and cherish.
It's quite
interesting,
quite deep, very deep. But let's move on now to the next paper. Don't forget that you can also be part of the conversation. You call the number on the screen there, and let's hear your thoughts on some of these stories. Away from the Punch now, let's go straight to the next newspaper, the front page there of The Guardian. That's where we're going to. The Guardian always giving us some form of infography just to buttress the stories even much better. Building materials. Yesterday was about cars. Today, building materials, labor spike construction costs by 200%. By 200%. You can see the prices. Sharp sand is now expensive, very, very costly. You also have panel doors, which have gone up. They've gone up very high now at 75,000 naira. It used to be 36,000 naira, 35,000 naira. Plywood too is expensive. I mean, if you call a carpenter now, what you would have paid 20,000 to quickly do now, you're going to pay close to about 42,000 naira or so. Anyway, hoodlums disrupt Fubara's Supreme Court victory celebration. Okay, all right, let's take a call very quickly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Eugene.
Yeah, Eugene from Ghana. Please,
All right, Eugene, can you speak up so we can hear you?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
go
you.
ahead.
Okay. So, I thank you this one, especially my brother, TK. Thank you for the in-depth analysis of what is going on in Nigeria. And you know, most of the times, when people talk, they will give all sorts of names. You see, election is life wire of any society, where people, those people who are going to represent them. Like in Nigeria, it seems that we don't see it that way. We feel that you are the one who impose leaders upon helpless citizens. Look at what is happening. during the election, people will be killed, people will be disenfranchised, and at the end of the day, they will say we are still learning. That is privilege act. And when you don't allow people to, vote their conscience or put people they want to lead them, what will happen is that you get leaders who doesn't care. And that's exactly what is happening in Nigeria today. Which judicial are not heading matters. They pretend that they are Nigerians. Leaders, but how much do you spend? Over 100 billion. At the end of the day, they told us that divers is for different things altogether. But we know that the problem of Nigeria, the problem of the region of election, is after we have finished voting, the talks will be, or whoever, they will go and write the different result. But if we're able to invest such an amount of money and make use of it, after the election, we will just upload it straight. No, there will be no interview. Nobody will be able to do what they have done. So what I'm saying is this, in essence, we must take our election seriously. When we take elections seriously, it will help. It will help us to get leaders that will be caring. Leaders that will have impact.
All right, Eugene. Thanks for you for calling and for sharing your thoughts. He spoke about improving on the electoral process. To give us better leadership. But of course, you've also stated the challenges with that. It's not that people don't want to vote or people don't want to be a part of it. It's just that magic could happen. Between midnight and morning, and things are suddenly different. We've seen that happen repeatedly. I also wanted to quickly mention, with the absence of Mr. President, and it doesn't seem to have any effect. What does that say? Because he's not been around for a bit, and it doesn't seem like anything is different. Even that he's not around. Does it in any way say that the person who's seated in Osarogie, for the longest time, almost it doesn't really change much, with...
Nigeria is on autopilot. Whether the president is there or not does not make any difference because they are not governing.
Yeah.
They are only playing politics. They are not governing. Since President Bola Tinubu was sworn in on May 29, 2023, all he has done is to prepare for the election of 2027. All he's done is to play politics. All he's done is to see how many more states, how many lawmakers, how many governors, how many people from the opposition political parties he will be able to coerce to become members of the APC. Of course, the national chairman of APC, Alhaji Ganduje, said that the plan of the party is to make Nigeria a one-party state. And after the Supreme Court judgment, he was wooing Kwakwanso and the Governor Kabiru Yusuf to leave NNPP to join APC. So the man, whether he is around or he's not around, didn't Muhammadu Buhari stay away on medical tourism for almost 3 months? These people are not governing. These people are not governing. And they can only afford to do that because they are taking Nigerians for granted. And because they know that they are not there by virtue of the mandate of the people. If they won elections with the votes cast by the people, they can't afford to treat Nigerians with this level of levity, with this level of almost insulting our sensibilities on daily basis.
Okay,
so,
Mr. Kichu, I'd like you to hold that thought. We have a call on the line. Idris from Niger State. Idris, can you hear us? All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm getting you.
The TV volume down and then go ahead, please.
What my brother there is saying on the TV. You see, Nigerians, for a very long time, we accept.
Yeah, we're going to have you call back. Please turn the volume. There's a TV or radio something on the background. So please turn it down and then call us back and be as audible as possible. We're almost out of time. I think we can squeeze in final newspaper this morning. We just finished with the Guardian. I think we can finally squeeze in the Daily Independent. It says Nigeria needs to borrow 21 trillion naira in 2024 to avert bankruptcy. Interesting. Niger State residents protest high cost of living, block roads. Labour Party asks Tinubu to seek help, says condition unmanageable. And also basic education, Nigeria experiencing learning crisis. Tariff hike, exchange rate volatility destroying our business, says clearing agents. Hard times will soon fade away, says the First Lady. Okay. The Senate considers review of customs, 5 trillion naira target upwards Q2. And also, I think on the top of the screen there, you can see call for state police through federalism. Inflation threatens street protests. Quickly speak on the 5 trillion naira. Okay, we're going to speak with someone from Benue now, but we'd like to speak on the 5 trillion naira target given to customs. I'm not sure if that is normal. Tony from Benue, good morning.
All right, Eze, can you hear us?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. In fact, I want to just drop a little thing. In Nigeria, all these things that is happening in Nigeria is as a result of majority of Nigeria don't know how governance works. And then when local government chairman came out and then maybe build a bus stop, you see people praise and clapping for the local government chairman because they have built a bus stop for people to use. It's a high time that Nigerians should be educated on how governance works. That the local government chairman grades the road for you, it is easy to do that. And it's not his personal money, he's doing it with money that government brought. So Nigerians should know that. And another thing is that the Nigerians are divided. If it is on other country, if government didn't do well, you see people protesting, like Western world. But in Nigeria, if something is wrong, and maybe it's the Hausa man that is on the throne, and the Yoruba man is complaining, they will say that it's because of the man that is not a Yoruba man. If Igbo man is complaining, they will say it's because it's not an Igbo man that is there. So Nigeria is completely divided. And until we realize that we must come together to tackle those people that are there, we cannot get it right.
All right.
That's a good thing about it.
All right. Thank you very much. All the way from Benue, he said, when Hausa man is on the throne. Interesting way to describe it. So I just want you to quickly speak on the Senate considers review of customs 5 trillion naira target upwards of Q2. Is this, the Nigerian government's way of trying to make as much more, mop up as much funds as possible?
It is still the same idea. I think Tinubu's idea, which of course nobody should be surprised, because part of the biggest legacy he continues claiming was that when he became governor of Lagos State, that IGR was about 500 million naira, that he raised it to about 6 billion,
6 billion
within it. So the idea is to get as much money as possible into the coffers of government. But the implication of taxing Nigerian customs to increase the money that they get is, of course, tariffs are going to be increased, duties are going to be increased.
Which has been done.
Yeah.
And that means higher costs for everything that you buy. Those who buy second-hand cars, of course, you can't get a second-hand car again at 5 million naira. It is going to increase more. The people have to pay, because a trader that imports things and you increase the duty, of course, we transfer the cost
The buyer.
To the buyer. It has nothing to do with him. He has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
If he can no longer import, he stops. So what Senate is looking at is how much more money they can rake in without considering the impact. And that, quickly, I have to tie it down to the story that we read, I think in The Guardian, cost of building materials,
yes,
spiking by the day. The implication is that in a country where we have terrible housing deficit, Nigerians can no longer afford to build houses, and government is not building. Nobody, I dare say, salaried worker today can afford to build a house unless you are getting money from some other place.
Yeah.
A bag of cement is 7,000 and counting. How can you afford to build a house in today's Nigeria? And there is very, like I said earlier, terrible housing deficit. I think these are only early days. The suffering will still continue. Nigerians must say enough is enough. I think we need to sit down and say, what is going on? Nigerians must realize that they have the power to call whoever sits in Abuja, whoever sits in Lagos, or whoever sits in Oka, or whoever sits in Owerri, as governor or as president, to say, we are not having a fair deal. This is a social contract. We have relinquished part of our rise to a government that ought to give us protection, that ought to make life more meaningful. The Constitution says the primary duty of every government is the security of lives and property of the citizenry, the welfare and well-being of the people. A government that does not promote the welfare and well-being of the people has no reason whatsoever to be there.
Just a final question, because we need to go. Can the government argue that what we're currently experiencing is the same thing that, the argument was when President Barrow was in office, that what we're experiencing then was the effect of what Jonathan, the damage that he had caused, and so it was always coming, it was almost unavoidable. So can the Tinubu administration say that it was Buhari's administration that ruined things, somehow, somewhere, and so what we're currently experiencing, they couldn't stop it, it was coming,
That argument is so childish, it's so puerile, it's so defeatist, particularly if it comes from somebody like Tinubu. Tinubu is APC leader, took over from Muhammadu Buhari, a government run by APC for 8 years. In any case, even if we go back to the very, very preposterous argument of Buhari that Jonathan did this, Jonathan did that. PDP. You were there for 8 years, for crying out loud. What did you do? Instead, things got worse. If Nigerians were to be today where Jonathan left off in 2015, we will be better off now. I'm not too sure anybody now will be complaining as loudly as we are complaining now.
It's so much.
So the truth of the matter is that things have
so much
gotten a lot worse.
A lot worse.
And APC has no reason whatsoever to continue looking back. And this blame game must stop. Tinubu said he knew what the problems were before he got elected, and that he does not want to be pitied.
Yeah.
All right.
And nobody should pity him.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, the conversations will continue, and thank you so much for calling. Let's quickly go to our top story that we're having right away from the papers. And it's time for us to take a look at the recent statement made by NAFDAC and what it portends for Nigerians. Welcome back. The Nigerian government has banned the production and sale of alcoholic beverages in sachets less than 200 milliliters across Nigeria. The ban was announced yesterday by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. NAFDAC said the 5-year window given to the manufacturers of the products to stop producing the drinks in sachets and PET bottles, which began in 2018, elapsed on January 31st, 2024. And the enforcement of the ban commenced on February the 1st. Let's quickly bring on, joining us this morning, public health specialist, Dr. Tuyi Mwawundu. Thank you so much for being here this morning, sir.
Good morning. It's nice having you.
Thanks for joining us.
Great. What does this mean for Nigerians, especially those who are lovers of the popular sachet drinks? And why do you think this is so necessary coming from NAFDAC?
Thank you once again. First and foremost, in discussing this, let's first understand the challenges of alcohol. Alcohol is one of the easily available addictive substances that you see in Nigeria. Nigeria consumes as much as more than 30 liters of alcohol per person per year, and of course, costs as much as runs to $250 billion of naira alcohol. Alcohol causes a lot of health problems, social problems, and including mental problems. Of course, loss of job, unemployment, driving under an influence, misbehavior, reckless acts like, even promoting sexually transmitted diseases. As the case may be, alcohol is linked to more than 200 cancers or health problems, as the case may be. Throat, breast, liver, heart problems are all linked to alcohol. Alcohol is actually one of the earlier entrants to addiction. Most of the time, when someone starts drinking alcohol at an early age, it's likely to smoke cigarettes, it's likely to take other addictive substances. So it's actually needed for us to have a really conversation on alcohol consumption. Such a drink provides opportunity for people to have access. It makes alcohol accessible, affordable, and available. Those are the key things. And then it actually affects the regulation of alcohol consumption. Because in reality, most of those labeling, most of those campaigns that you put on those alcoholic drinks will not actually be readily available on those sachet drinks. It's something that you can put in your pocket and you can, walk around with it and drink without control. And if you look at the target population, usually youth, drivers, and those people, involved in critical areas of the economy are involved in buying this cheap alcohol and consuming. And there's no regulation with this sachet, there's no regulation of the quantity you can consume. The other thing is that you don't even know the quality of what you are being served. There's a lot of combo, with all sorts of names promising to do this and that to the person's erection. So it's actually a big problem waiting on us. So for us, it's nice that NAFDAC takes the right step to stem the consumption of this sachet alcohol timelessly. It is very important that this is done. But looking at alcohol, there's always the other side of it, which is actually the business side of alcohol. Most of my early working morning, when I'm walking around, I see a lot of those women as early as possible with those basins containing different brand of this alcohol in sachet. And people are coming there to buy, and you wonder, is government actually looking at the demand side of this thing? Because we are looking at the supply side now, trying to deal with it. What are the demand side? We also want to see, actions. We want to see, a proper traction on addressing the demand side of this sachet alcohol and how to stem the consumption. But in addition, I am afraid you need a lot of will, a lot of human resources to monitor the consumption of this alcohol and actually dissuade people from buying them. What you may experience initially, okay.
Doc, I want to just clarify, almost every society has, alcohol, and yes, with the dangers of, consumption of alcohol and, addiction and all of that, but it still exists. What would NAFDAC's best reason for banning these ones be? It can't simply just be, alcohol is dangerous for you. That wouldn't work. Would it be because they've not also been able to monitor the production of these alcohol in sachets, and so they do not think it's safe for consumption for the for the Nigerian public? Is that what it might be, or is there something else that we're not aware of? Because these alcoholic brands, you know, and I was saying earlier that these ones in sachets, a lot of them have the big bottles. The reason that they have been put in sachets is because they know that many Nigerians that consume these things can't afford the bottles.
Now, let's understand the function of NAFDAC, National Agency for Drug Administration and Control, Food, Drug Administration and Control. Okay, their major work is actually the control, availability, reckless availability of those alcohol, especially targeting underage, teenagers, and some people, especially those ones working in the park. So also, when you have the multiplication of those type of alcohol in sachets, it's easy to produce, easier to produce than the one in the bottle. So when you see the multiplication, the likelihood of fake or contamination of those kind of drinks are there. And then monitoring and controlling them will be a big challenge. It's better and easier for you to control those drinks in those big bottles, okay? But how do you monitor multiplication of alcohol, different names, different brand, different labeling in those sachets, okay? So it's important because in addition, if you look at the environmental aspect of it, you see a lot of those sachets, you know, being nuisance to the environment. But at the level of NAFDAC, it's actually control of the availability, affordability, and accessibility. So those are the key things that they are dealing with this decision. They also need to be helped by other agencies, relevant agencies working in that regards, okay? Consumer Protection, Ministry of Health, National Orientation Campaign, if this thing is to be successful.
It would be great if we lived in the kind of society that can give you statistics on the number of liver or kidney failures or cancers that we've experienced from the consumption of these things. But we don't even live in that kind of society. You know, the Nigerian, you know, health ministry generally may not be able to give you proper statistics, you know, from investigations that these cancers and these health challenges have been caused from this specific, the consumption of this specific, you know, alcohol brands in sachets. So placing a generic ban over it simply because, oh, you know, we can't control, you know, the production and the quality also, you know, looks like laziness on NAFDAC's part. And it's not backed up by facts. That's my point. It's not backed up by any facts.
Listen, it can't be laziness because there are two aspects to this thing. Supply and demand aspect of this whole thing, okay? If you want to deal with demand, you also have to deal with the supply side of the whole thing, okay? What we're saying is this: why are you multiplying alcohol in small sachets, affordable, available, accessible to everybody, including small children, including underage people? In reality, you have to actually look at that because normally, I can tell you, while I brought, as even an adult, when I needed to buy alcohol in a shop, they demanded for my ID card. Who's going to demand for an ID card, for instance, if you have to, you know, buy alcohol in a sachet, and you understand the economic side of it? You must be able to show some reasonable traction in key decisions that can help the health of the people. Okay, so anyhow you look at it, it is a new business format in our economy, and it's not helping us. And as a medical practitioner, you know, I can tell you the number of alcohol-related cancers, you know, that we've been seeing, because recently we've been seeing increase in the number of kidney failures, increase in number of cancers, even at a younger age. And of course, we know the risk factor of all these things. You know, alcohol is linked to many, more than 200 types of illnesses and cancers. And of course, we've seen the upsurge in the consumption, in the drug addiction. Alcohol is the first entrance. When the 14-year-old or 13-year-old can just easily go to the place and buy one alcohol in a sachet, if later smoke cigarette and do some other things. I think for the issue of public health, it is important for one to limit. At least it helps, you know, people from grabbing the alcohol at a younger age. It helps them from, you know, access and affordability. Because if you're going to use 10 naira, 20 naira to buy a sachet of alcohol, those ones are affordable. You can easily consume as many as possible. Oh. So it's a design, really. It's a design to limit those younger people from taking.
There's obviously laws. Yeah, Dr. Mebondo, we're out of time. You know, you and I could have had this conversation for the next 2 hours. Because I don't consume those sachet alcohol, you know, but I just need it to make sense. And there's obviously laws that prevent, you know, people from selling alcohol to people under 18. It's clearly stated on the packs. It's not to be consumed by, you know, people under 18. So a generic ban, and why I speak like this is because I feel like for a long time, Nigeria, the way we act is knee-jerk reactions. Someone says this and we just ban everything. There's no thinking, there's no plan, there's just ban it all. And that's not the way society should work, because you're affecting people's business.
It's another challenge to monitor those bans. It's another challenge.
I get it, but it's failure of government. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, maybe we'll continue the conversation.
We need to go.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
We need to go. Thank you so much for joining us.
The conversation this morning.
Thank you.